Mr. Thorne, hello. This is Leo Vance. I need to terminate the stand-in service. The agreement says that for service exceeding 5 years, the stand-in requires a 1-month transition period. Is that correct? Adrian Thorne froze for a moment. The last time he'd heard that voice, a voice nearly identical to his own, was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, Leo Vance had walked into the agency, and Adrian had made every candidate repeat the same 3 words, Victoria Davenport. The moment Leo spoke, Adrian hired him on the spot. The service contract was to last until Adrian returned to the country or got married. For the next week, Leo shadowed Adrian, meticulously studying his fashion sense, grooming habits, diet, and daily routines. "Oh, and my birthday is July 20th, Adrian had said. "Remember, that's your birthday now, too." According to the agreement, every aspect of the stand-in's life had to mirror the client's. Looking at Leo, who after the training was an 80% match, Adrian nodded in satisfaction. As long as a shadow of him remained by Victoria's side, she could never forget him, no matter how long he was gone. Then, he was on a plane, chasing after another woman across the globe. "Mr. Vance, are you still there?" Adrian's voice on the other end of the line was laced with confusion and a hint of annoyance. Leo collected himself, adopting a tone of deference he hadn't used in years. "Yes, Mr. Thorne. Due to the extended duration of the service, we'll need some time to prepare for my departure to ensure there are no adverse effects for you later on. Fine, thanks for your work these past 7 years. In 1 month, I need you to disappear from her life completely." The line went dead. A faint redness crept into the corners of Leo's eyes. "Disappear completely? Leo, are you eating spicy food again?" Victoria pushed the door open, walking toward him with a helpless look. She handed him a napkin, her voice full of concern. "Honestly, you do this every time. You know you can't handle spicy food. So why do you always push yourself?" She had asked him that question countless times. And every time, Leo would just smile and say he loved it. The truth was, he had a sensitive stomach. He couldn't handle spicy food at all. He hated it. But his client, Adrian Thorne, couldn't get enough of it, which meant Leo had to love it too. Yet, after 7 years, his tolerance hadn't improved one bit. Victoria handed him a glass of milk to cut the heat, her brow smoothing out only after he'd finished it. "Leo, I want to take you somewhere." Victoria was different tonight. She eagerly slid into the driver's seat, even leaning over to buckle his seatbelt for him. In the dim, warm light of the car, her eyes were filled with a deep tenderness. "Did the spice fry your brain? You seem a million miles away. That's it. No more spicy food for you. I die a little every time your stomach acts up." Leo looked down and mumbled a soft agreement. Victoria, delighted, leaned over and planted a kiss on his cheek. The car moved smoothly down the highway. Leo couldn't help but turn to look at the woman in the driver's seat. Radiant, beautiful, her profile was nearly perfect. It was a face you couldn't tear your eyes away from. He had been looking at that face for 7 years. He first approached Victoria at a gala orchestrated by Adrian. Leo spotted her in a corner, completely drunk. He mimicked Adrian's voice and called out to her, "Victoria, stop drinking." Hearing the familiar voice, Victoria shot up and threw herself into his arms, murmuring drunkenly, "Adrian, you didn't leave. I knew you wouldn't leave me. You'll never leave me, right? I'll never leave you." But as soon as the words were out, she shoved him away violently. "Get lost. You're not him." After that, Leo made sure to appear before her every day. He'd be at her company's entrance with breakfast in the morning and would snatch the bottle from her hand when she was drinking herself into a stupor late at night. He'd show up at her villa with a change of clothes. But Victoria always remained cold, keeping him at a distance with her security. Leo couldn't get close. The only change was that whenever she heard his voice, her expression would soften slightly. This went on for a solid month before Leo suddenly vanished. It was Adrian's idea, a classic play-hard-to-get tactic. It worked. A week later, Victoria had people searching for him all over the city. Leo reappeared one night while she was drunk again. This time, she didn't push him away. She just coldly demanded to know where he had been and why he had disappeared. Before Leo could answer, she passed out on the sofa, mumbling in a drunken haze, "Say my name. Call my name. Victoria, Victoria." Leo repeated her name all night, until the deep furrow in her brow relaxed, until she was sleeping peacefully in his arms. The next day, Victoria asked him how much money he wanted. Every man who had ever gotten close to her had been after her money. Leo shook his head. "I just want to stay by your side." Someone had already paid the bill. When Victoria asked why, Leo recited the well-practiced lie, "Because I'm in love with you." Perhaps she believed him. She let him stay, and he stayed for 7 years. But now, how was he supposed to leave? Would she get blackout drunk again, just like that night, because he was gone? Leo was the top stand-in at the agency. He shouldn't be thinking about these things. But the thought of leaving filled him with a complex, unidentifiable ache. He pulled out his phone and looked at the contract he'd signed 7 years ago. Breach of contract penalty, $5 million. He couldn't afford it. The car pulled over in the suburbs. Victoria took out a silk scarf and tied it over his eyes. Leo, it's a surprise. His vision went black. He let her lead him by the hand, the warmth of her palm spreading through his. He found himself squeezing her hand a little tighter. We're here. As she removed the scarf, a breathtaking sea of fiery red roses flooded his vision. Victoria led him to the center of the rose garden and stopped. She turned to face him, her dark eyes filled with affection, reflecting only him. Suddenly, a chorus of cheerful teasing erupted around them. So this is the famous brother-in-law. He's so handsome. No wonder you've been hiding him for 7 years, Victoria. You didn't want to share. I can't believe it. Victoria Davenport, actually tamed. This guy doesn't look anything like Adrian Thorne. Back then, Victoria was a total wreck. When she suddenly calmed down, we thought she'd found a substitute. The last comment was drowned out by the general uproar, but Leo heard it. A substitute? Seeing the crowd of people that had suddenly appeared, Leo realized what was happening. He quickly raised a hand to cover his face and turned to leave. According to the agreement, a stand-in was forbidden from appearing with the client in public, including in front of her friends. He was supposed to remain forever in the shadows. A pair of soft, delicate hands stopped him. Leo, don't hide anymore. Give me a chance to introduce you to my friends, please. Victoria gently pulled his hand away from his face. A large screen nearby flickered to life, displaying a slideshow of their sweet photos together from over the years. Then, the woman before him dropped to one knee. As if by magic, a glittering diamond ring appeared in her hand. Her beautiful voice was like a soft spring breeze, captivating and sincere. Leo, thank you for being by my side these past 7 years. I want you to stand with me, to let everyone know that you're my man. Will you be my husband? Leo's eyes widened. He stared down in disbelief at the woman's loving gaze, his mind going completely blank. How is this possible? Had Victoria actually fallen in love with him, the substitute? How could a stand-in be proposed to by his client? And how could a stand-in accept a proposal that wasn't meant for him? Say yes. Say yes. The cheering grew louder. Leo was overwhelmed, wanted to run but unable to move. His heart was pounding harder than it ever had before. Leo, was this too sudden? Did I scare you? Victoria, seeing his panic, remained on one knee and spoke softly, her eyes overflowing with tenderness. I tried to hint at it so many times, but you never seemed to notice, so I had to take matters into my own hands. Images flooded Leo's mind. He wasn't made of stone. Even a substitute has a heart. After 7 years of living side by side, of repeating her name time and time again, he hadn't even realized that his tone was no longer the one Adrian had taught him. It was now colored with his own cautious love, his own secret affection. To the outside world, he and Victoria looked like a genuinely loving couple. Looking at the woman kneeling before him, Leo suddenly thought that $5 million didn't seem like that much after all. She was willing to do this for him. Maybe he didn't have to be a substitute. A faint smile touched Leo's lips, and he took a step toward her. The friends around them erupted in even more excited cheers. Just as he was about to speak, the romantic music was abruptly replaced by a cell phone's ringtone. The caller ID flashed across the large screen. Adrian Victoria's eyes widened. She instinctively pressed the answer button, and a magnetic male voice echoed through the rose garden. Victoria, I'm back in the country. The words hit like a bomb, sending shockwaves through Victoria's heart. In the next second, she shot to her feet and ran from the garden, her eyes bloodshot. The garden fell silent. Her friends exchanged awkward glances, wanting to comfort Leo but not knowing what to say. They all knew who that voice belonged to. They could only look at him with pity. The ring slipped from her hand, falling to the ground and rolling to a stop at Leo's feet. Leo bent down and picked up the sparkling, dirt-stained ring. The sunlight illuminated the letters engraved inside. A.T. Adrian Thorne. His heart felt like it was being squeezed by an iron fist, the pain so intense he could barely breathe. He pressed a hand to his chest. Of course, a substitute could only ever be a substitute. A self-mocking smile twisted Leo's lips. He had actually thought Victoria loved him. For a fleeting moment, he had even wanted to become her husband, to stand by her side forever. He felt like a pathetic clown who had aimed far too high. 7 years ago, Victoria had drunk herself into the hospital with a bleeding stomach, all for Adrian. his name a constant whisper on her lips. Night after night, her sleep-talking was filled with that one name, Adrian. For a necklace Adrian had once worn, she had allowed herself to be humiliated by kidnappers, refusing to let it go. How had he forgotten all of this? Back at the villa, Leo stared at the empty pillow next to his and felt an inexplicable chill. His phone remained silent. Leo let out a bitter laugh. Why would Victoria remember him now? As expected, she didn't come home all night. A sudden, splitting headache forced Leo's eyes open. 5 years ago, while saving Victoria from kidnappers, Leo had been struck hard on the head. It had left him with a chronic condition, a debilitating headache that flared up every month. He struggled out of bed to find the painkillers. Victoria kept them all in a small box, always ready for him. After searching everywhere and finding nothing, he slumped weakly against the side of the bed just as the front door opened. Leo, I need to talk to you about something. Victoria hurried in, kneeling in front of him, her expression hesitant. An old friend is coming to visit, but noticing his pale face, she reached out and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. You look terrible. Are you exhausted? How about I send you to a resort today to relax? I'll come pick you up later. It was as if she had completely forgotten about last night's proposal, forgotten that she had abandoned him there alone. Not a single word of explanation. His phone vibrated beside him. Leo pulled his hand away from his temple and opened the message. It was from Adrian. Mr. Vance, I'll be at the villa shortly. Please stay to handle the handover with me. And while you're at it, help facilitate our reunion. He couldn't refuse a client's request. Leo looked up, forcing a smile onto his pale face. He didn't beat around the bush. It's Adrian, isn't it? I know how to make all his favorite dishes. I'll cook for you too. Don't worry, I won't reveal our arrangement. An unexpected pang of pain shot through Victoria's heart. After a moment's hesitation, she kissed Leo's cheek. Okay, thank you for this, Leo. The touch of cold water on his hands made Leo's headache worse. He had to pinch his arm hard to stay conscious. A pair of polished leather shoes stopped at the kitchen doorway. Adrian's low, pleased voice sounded from behind him. You've done well these past few years. The room is decorated exactly to my tastes, and you've mimicked my style and habits perfectly. I'm very satisfied. I'll need your cooperation for the next month. After you disappear completely, I'll give you a generous bonus. Leo was about to reply when a woman's voice cut him off. Disappear completely? Who's disappearing? Adrian's expression turned sorrowful. He turned as if to leave, his voice thick with emotion. It's my fault. I shouldn't be here, disturbing you too. Sir, don't worry. I'll disappear right now. I promise I'll disappear from your lives completely. Hearing the word disappear, Victoria's face changed dramatically. She rushed forward and wrapped her arms tightly around Adrian from behind, her voice trembling slightly. No, don't. Adrian, promise me you won't disappear again, okay? A faint smile played on Adrian's lips. Okay. Receiving his assurance, Victoria finally let go. She turned and shot a cold glare at Leo, who was standing frozen in place. I told you that you weren't needed today, but you insisted on staying to cook for Adrian. Why would you say something like that to him now? If you don't want to be here, then leave. The one who should disappear is you. Leo watched as she wrapped her arm around Adrian and led him out the door. He didn't call out to her. A stand-in must cooperate with the client. It felt like a knife had been plunged into his heart. A dull ache spread through his chest, and combined with a pounding headache, he felt himself sway, leaning against the counter for support. She was right. The person who was supposed to disappear was him. A 7-year substitute. It was Adrian who spoke up and asked Leo to stay. By the time all the dishes were prepared, Leo's face was completely ashen. With his last bit of strength, he carried the final dish, a spicy chili, out of the kitchen. Just as Leo was about to set the dish on the table, someone slammed into his elbow. The large bowl tilted precariously, and the scalding hot oil was about to spill. In the nick of time, Victoria yanked Adrian out of the way. The entire contents of the bowl poured directly onto Leo's arm. A searing, intense pain shot through him, and he collapsed to the floor, his back drenched in sweat. Leo looked up in agony, about to ask for help, but saw Victoria already helping Adrian into the car and driving away. He had no choice but to grit his teeth against the pain, pull out his phone, and dial 911. My God, son, what happened here? This is a severe burn covering your whole arm. Try to bear with me. This is going to hurt a bit while I apply the ointment. The doctor sighed helplessly as he gently treated the wound. If it hurts, just yell. It must be excruciating. We just had another guy in here about your age with a burn. He was shaking the whole time I was applying the ointment. His girlfriend was right there, so worried, kept blowing on it and telling me to be gentle. A burn the size of a fingernail ended up taking me half an hour. The doctor shook his head, a hint of apology in his tone. That's what caused the delay. If we had treated you sooner, your prognosis might be better. As it is, you'll likely have a scar. Leo managed a weak smile to reassure the doctor. His phone vibrated. A message from Victoria popped up. Where are you? Why aren't you answering your phone? Adrian was hurt because of you. Get to the hospital and apologize to him immediately. Sir, don't move. I'm treating you. What message is so important you have to reply right now? The doctor held his arm down, continuing his work with a frown. Suddenly, Leo felt the pain with searing intensity. The screen, which had just gone dark, lit up again. This time it was Adrian. Mr. Vance, I need you to come in my room now to cooperate with me. After the treatment, Leo waited for half an hour before pulling down his sleeve and walking into Adrian's hospital room. The moment Victoria saw him, her previously gentle expression hardened. What took you so long? Hurry up and apologize to Adrian. He was injured because of you. Before he could speak, Adrian took her hand, his voice full of understanding. It's fine, it wasn't Mr. Vance's fault. He didn't do it on purpose. Besides, he worked so hard to cook for me. I should be thanking him. The concern in Victoria's eyes was palpable. She playfully tapped Adrian's nose. Adrian, you're still as kind as ever, always thinking of others. She then turned back to Leo. This was his fault to begin with, and he was the one who insisted on staying. Leo had no desire to stand there and watch their tender reunion. Remembering Adrian's instructions, he simply admitted guilt. I'm sorry, Mr. Thorne. It's my fault you were injured. I apologize. Seeing the smile on Adrian's face, Victoria's mood seemed to improve slightly. She waved a dismissive hand. Since Adrian has forgiven you, you can just get a cab home. Her gaze lingered on Leo for no more than 3 seconds in total. Before, if he'd so much as scraped his hand, Victoria would notice immediately and insist on disinfecting and bandaging it. Leo would always laugh and tell her she was overreacting. Now, she couldn't see the massive burn on his arm at all. It turns out, when you stop caring about someone, you stop seeing them. Back at the villa, Leo began to pack. He gathered all the luxury watches, clothes, and sneakers Victoria had given him over the years, contacted a reseller, and had the cash deposited into his bank account. As for the diamond engagement ring he had picked up from the dirt, he didn't sell it. His name wasn't engraved on it. It wasn't his. He placed it in its box on the desk, ready to be returned to its rightful owner. By the time he had cleared out all his belongings, Victoria still hadn't returned. 1 week left. Then he would disappear from her life completely. Leo took out his phone, about to book a flight out of the city, when a message from Adrian appeared. Mr. Vance, I will arrange for your departure. For now, I need you to go on my Instagram and like my latest post. Adrian had posted a carousel of 9 stitched-together panoramic photos, a total of 81 pictures. Every single one was of him and Victoria. In every shot, Victoria was smiling freely, her eyes full of joy and love. So, she could smile like that. In the 7 years they'd been together, this was the first time he'd seen her so openly ecstatic. She was usually so reserved, her smiles faint and fleeting. Leo had always tried to get her to laugh without restraint, but she'd always said she never learned how. It wasn't that she couldn't. It just depended on who she was with. Following Adrian's instructions, Leo quietly liked the post. He had just put his phone down when the screen lit up with a message from Victoria. How do you have Adrian's number? What did you say to him? You never look at your feed. Why did you like his post? Leo, if you have something to say it to me. Don't take it out on him. A bitter, self-deprecating smile touched Leo's lips. He had become a prop for their rekindled romance. But then, that was his job as a stand-in. Leo didn't reply. He looked at the mountain of framed photos in the courtyard, pictures of him and Victoria. Without a moment's hesitation, he took out a lighter. As the flames danced before his eyes, he felt nothing. It was like completing any other routine task. He was just a substitute. He was never supposed to develop feelings for the client. This was the correct way, and this was Victoria Davenport, whose love was something he could never dare to hope for. 3 days later, Victoria returned, laden with shopping bags. The moment she stepped inside, she knew something was wrong. Why does the villa feel so empty? And where are photos on the wall? They were getting old. I was planning to replace them, Leo said. An inexplicable panic seized Victoria's heart. Something about Leo fell off. He was a deeply sentimental person. He'd used the same pillow for 7 years, and when it went flat, he'd washed it and stored it away, unable to throw it out. Perhaps it was because she'd been gone for so many days, neglecting him. Thinking this, Victoria turned to get a few of the gifts she'd bought for him. But as she picked up each one, Adrian's happy voice echoed in her ears. A moment later, she realized with a jolt that not a single gift was for Leo. Her heart tightened. She had forgotten Leo. A flash of guilt crossed her eyes. Her gaze fell on a small box at the very end of the pile. Inside was a leather bracelet. After a moment's hesitation, she picked it up, turned, and handed it to Leo, her voice unusually gentle. Leo, I'm sorry. I've been away on business and haven't been with you. This is a gift I brought back for you. Do you like it? Leo recognized the bracelet instantly. He'd seen it on Adrian's Instagram story. It was a cheap, ugly freebie that Adrian had complained about receiving. I love it. Leo smiled and accepted the bracelet. A freebie was perfect. It would save him the trouble of finding a reseller. He was just a substitute, and a freebie was all he deserved. A strange sourness rose in Victoria's chest. She lifted her hand, wanting to touch his face, but he subtly moved away. She instinctively felt that Leo was still unhappy. Why? Leo, you seem down. Is your headache starting? Victoria produced a box from somewhere, opening it to reveal painkillers and other medications. It was the very box Leo had been desperately searching for. Leo lowered his gaze, his expression unreadable. Victoria's phone rang. Seeing the name on the screen, she answered almost instantly. A faint male voice drifted from the speaker. Victoria, my head hurts a little. You wait right there. I'm coming over now. Victoria's face was etched with anxiety. She hung up, grabbed the box of medicine, and rushed toward the door. She paused at the entrance, turning back to explain, Leo, Adrian isn't feeling well. I'm going to check on him. Before Leo could say a word, she was in her car, speeding away. Victoria didn't return that night. Leo went into the courtyard and pulled up all the tulips he had planted, replacing them with roses, Adrian's favorite. This was the one and only thing where he hadn't maintained consistency with his client. The tulips in the yard were like the only true part of himself. Now that the master of the house was returning, it was only natural to replace them with the flowers the master loved. Leo took out his phone. A trending local news story caught his eye. Davenport Corp. CEO rents private island for boyfriend's lavish birthday bash. Leo suddenly remembered. Today was Adrian's birthday. It was also his own fake birthday as the stand-in. With that thought, he went into the kitchen and baked an exquisitely beautiful cake. On top, he piped 2 words, new life. His life as a substitute was finally ending. It was worth celebrating. Why did you decide to bake a cake today? Victoria walked in, a smile in her eyes. She seemed to be in an exceptionally good mood. She held out a jewelry box containing an expensive watch. Leo, I'm sorry I've neglected you lately. Adrian just got back, and there's a lot he needs my help with. The light glinting off the diamonds stung Leo's eyes. He didn't accept the gift, simply cutting her off. It's fine. I understand. Today is my birthday. Blow out the candles with me, Victoria. Leo's tone was as gentle as a spring breeze, without a trace of resentment. This might be the last time he ever said her name. Victoria froze for a moment. How had she forgotten they shared the same birthday? That strange feeling rose in her again. Something like guilt, but not quite, a heavy blockage in her heart. Before she could speak, Leo had already lit the candles and closed his eyes to make a wish. Victoria's gaze rested on him, and for a moment, she didn't want to look away. Not until her phone vibrated for the 10th time did she finally look down and take it out. The moment she saw the message, she ran out the door without a second glance. Leo opened his eyes to an empty room. He smiled and blew out the candles. His wish had come true. He wished to never see Victoria Davenport again in this lifetime. Today was the day Leo was leaving. Just as he was about to contact Adrian, a message popped up. Mr. Vance, I need you to come to the island now. I will arrange for your departure from there. Leo's heart trembled. A single, crystalline tear fell silently to the floor. This was the last time. It was all about to end. On the island, Leo was led to a small room by Adrian. The chatter of the guests outside drifted in. Wow, Ms. Davenport is so devoted. Adrian Thorne was abroad for 7 whole years, and she never forgot him. The moment he's back, she's by his side every day. Now she's throwing this huge birthday party for him. She spared no expense, all to win a smile from her first love. The love of a CEO is something else. Don't spread rumors. Ms. Davenport has a boyfriend. She even proposed to him the other day. Although, no way. We haven't seen any other man around her for the past 7 years. Every time she got drunk, she was always calling Adrian's name. Leo felt nothing. He put on a black baseball cap. For once, his outfit didn't have to look like Adrian's. It could be his own. The sound of footsteps approached from behind. Adrian's handsome face appeared in the mirror. Mr. Vance, thank you for your cooperation during this time. The bonus has been sent to the usual account. After today, I hope we never see each other again. Adrian had Leo walk down the stairs with him. Stunned gazes fell upon them. When they reached the main floor, Adrian's voice, amplified by a microphone, echoed through the grand ballroom. Everyone, I'd like to introduce you all. This is Ms. Davenport's fiancé, Leo Vance. Let's give them our sincerest congratulations. The entire room fell silent. Countless shocked stares were directed at a grim-faced Victoria. No one had expected Victoria Davenport to have a fiancé, much less for Adrian Thorne to be the one to announce it. A smile played on Adrian's handsome face. Since it's my birthday, I'd also like to find my special someone and be as happy as they are. If anyone is interested, let's get to know each other. I'm single. Many of the guests were daughters from prominent families. Seeing the dapper man in the suit, their eyes lit up with interest. Crash! Victoria slammed her wine glass onto the floor, shattering it. She strode up to Leo, her dark eyes filled with rage. Who told you to come here? She seethed, her voice shaking with barely controlled fury. When did I ever say I was going to marry you? What gives you the right to be my fiancé? Without waiting for an answer, she grabbed Adrian and stormed off, leaving Leo standing there alone, the target of countless looks of pity and contempt. Leo ignored them all and walked straight out of the hotel. Following Adrian's final instructions, he went to the cliffs by the sea to wait for the person who would take him away. The moon over the ocean was exceptionally bright, the stars scattered across the sky like diamonds. Sorry to keep you waiting. Adrian's magnetic voice sounded behind him. The open collar of his shirt revealed a patch of red marks, and his cheeks were flushed like apples. What had just transpired was obvious. Two masked men appeared and tied both Adrian and Leo near the edge of the cliff. Adrian gave him a slight smile. Don't be afraid. It's just an act. Once it's over, you can leave for good. The night sea breeze whipped against Leo, and he couldn't help but shiver. Soon, a woman came running frantically into view. Let them go. Victoria's roar echoed, her face terrifyingly grim, making the kidnappers flinch. One of the kidnappers took a deep breath, remembering his lines, and shouted back forcefully, choose one. Of these two men, you can only take one. The darkness in Victoria's eyes seemed poised to swallow everything. The pressure around her was suffocating. The kidnapper pushed them both closer to the edge. If you don't choose, they both die. Seeing the two men dangling over the edge, Victoria's sanity finally snapped. She blurted out, almost instinctively, the right. Let him down. He's afraid of heights. Adrian was on the right. A satisfied smile appeared on Adrian's face. He turned his head to look at Leo. Goodbye. Your mission is complete. Leo looked at the frantic woman before him. Her gaze had never once landed on him. Having gotten their answer, the kidnappers immediately released Adrian, then grabbed Leo and jumped off the cliff together. Leo closed his eyes, letting his body fall. Goodbye, Victoria. Leo and the kidnapper landed on a rescue boat that had been positioned below. The man helped him up, his voice tinged with sympathy. Listen, kid, take my advice and leave that woman. You saw for yourself. She loves the other guy. Leo lowered his eyes and replied politely. Thank you, sir. I know, even a stranger could see it. So how could he not? The truth was, Leo had always known. From the very beginning, he knew. The person Victoria loved was Adrian. And that was how it should be. She was never supposed to fall in love with him, the substitute. It was he who had overstepped, who had been presumptuous. Sitting on the cruise ship heading back to New York, Leo didn't look back at Miami, the city where he had lived for 7 years. According to the agreement, once the stand-in disappeared completely, he was never to appear before the client again. Leo couldn't look back, and he would never go back. This was the best possible outcome. Victoria got her wish and was finally with her first love, and he had successfully completed his job. The money he'd earned over the past 7 years had saved his mother's life. On the cliffs, now receding into the distance, a woman's desperate screams were being swallowed by the roar of the ocean waves, never reaching his ears. Now, watching the figure plummet from the cliff and vanish from sight, Victoria pushed the man in her arms away and ran to the edge, only to see the churning, frothing sea below. The dam inside her heart instantly burst, a torrent of chaotic emotions erupting into a soul-wrenching scream. Leo. The cliffs were so high. Could Leo possibly survive a fall like that? The turbulent waves crashed against the rocks, as if trying to devour everything. No, she hadn't wanted to give up on him. She had promised to be with him forever. How had she failed to protect him this time? A sharp, violent pain seized Victoria's heart. Losing all control, she stood up, ready to jump off the cliff after him. Strong arms wrapped around her, holding her back. Adrian's choked, pleading voice came from behind her. Victoria, you can't go down there. It's too high, you'll be killed. But Leo is down there. I have to find him. He can't be hurt. Let me go. Victoria shoved him away forcefully, deaf to his words. Only one thought echoed in her mind. Leo cannot die. Leo is fine. Seeing that she was about to jump, Adrian screamed. Victoria turned back, her eyes still bloodshot. What did you say? Adrian, his eyes red and swollen, rushed forward and hugged her, his choked voice filled with resentment. Leo is fine. I just asked him to help me with an act. I wanted to see how important I was to you. Victoria, now I know. You really do love me. Victoria cut him off, her eyes dark with fury. You two teamed up to trick me? Adrian reached up to smooth her furrowed brow, forcing a cajoling smile. Just think of it as a little joke between us, okay? I can finally answer your question from 20 years ago. Victoria Davenport, Ido. Do you? Victoria was stunned. She never thought she would get the answer she had waited 20 years for in a situation like this. But why wasn't there a single shred of joy in her heart? Instead, she felt a profound emptiness, as if she had lost something incredibly important. This was the sentence she had waited 2 decades to hear. Staring at the handsome face before her, another face materialized in her mind. Where is Leo? She blurted out. Why would he agree to act this out with Adrian? He watched her choose another man. What must Leo be thinking? A creeping sense of unease settled over Victoria. Is that all you want to talk about? Adrian repeated in disbelief. He had just accepted her proposal. Shouldn't she be ecstatic? Victoria pushed him away and pulled out her phone. The message that popped up on the screen made her pupils constrict. She clicked on it, and 3 lines burned into her vision. Let's break up. I wish you and Adrian a happy future together. Goodbye, Victoria. Victoria's vision tunneled. She had never, in her entire life, imagined she would receive a breakup message from Leo. How is this possible? Leo loved her so much. He had been by her side for 7 years, always so gentle, always waiting for her. How could he just leave? Was it because she hadn't chosen him? Was he angry? Victoria convinced herself that was the reason. She put her phone away, pushed the man in front of her aside, and turned away from the cliff without looking back. Meanwhile, at the New York agency, Leo, you're finally back. The director sighed, patting the shoulder of the composed young man before him. I honestly didn't think you would come back. 7 years is long enough to fall completely in love with someone. I was thinking that if you two really got together, I'd find a way to negotiate the penalty fee for you. Your happiness is what's most important. A warmth spread through Leo's eyes, and his voice was thick with emotion. Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm here to resign. My mother's condition has stabilized. I don't want to be a stand-in anymore. He didn't want to be anyone's substitute ever again. He had chosen this profession 7 years ago only because his mother had fallen ill and needed a huge sum of money for surgery, money that no ordinary job could provide in such a short time. Now, his savings were more than enough to cover her long-term medical expenses. I approve. After the 1-month post-service period is over, your resignation will be final. Good kid, go be yourself now. The director smiled warmly, signed the document, then added in a thoughtful tone, but for this month, if your client has any follow-up requests, you should cooperate as much as you can. If you find anything too difficult, just tell me, and I'll handle it. After all, the agency has to stay in business, and your client is very well known in those circles. In 1 month, you can cut off all contact with her for good. Don't worry, sir. I'll handle the post-service period professionally. I won't tarnish our agency's reputation. After a client terminated a stand-in service, there was a 1-month after-sales period. During this time, without meeting the client in person, the stand-in was required to comply with certain supplementary requests from the employer via text, phone, or other online means. Back in Miami, a distraught Victoria rushed back to the villa. In her left hand, she carried a strawberry cake, and in her right, a container of Leo's favorite spicy hot pot. Leo, I'm so sorry about before. I'm back to celebrate your birthday with you. Look what I brought. It's your favorite hot pot. I'll let you have it just this once. Her anxious voice echoed in the vast, empty living room, but there was no reply. Victoria's heart sank. She had been gambling that an angry Leo would still be here, waiting for her explanation. She put the food down and ran upstairs, throwing open the master bedroom door. The sheets, duvet cover, and pillows were all new. She let out a small sigh of relief. His things were still here. Wait, where were the couple photos in the master bedroom? She frowned and looked at the desk. Leo's favorite collectibles were all gone. Panicked, Victoria flung open the closet. Inside, there were only her dresses. Leo's suits and shirts were gone. There was only a small, square red box sitting in the middle. Victoria opened the jewelry box. It was the diamond ring, the one she had used to propose to Leo. The scene of the proposal flashed in her mind, and a deep sense of guilt washed over her. That day, she had left him standing there alone. How hurt must he have been? The diamond glittered, and under the light, the engraved initials were starkly clear. A.T. Victoria's pupils constricted. In disbelief, she rubbed the ring over and over again, confirming it. Why were Adrian Thorne's initials on the ring? This was the ring she had proposed to Leo with. No wonder all his things were gone, except for this ring. Thud! She furiously threw the ring at the desk. The impact jarred the jewelry box, revealing the edge of a bank card underneath. Victoria picked it up. Beneath the card was a folded piece of paper. She unfolded it and found an itemized list of every gift she had ever given Leo, from an apartment down to a single rose. Beneath the long column of figures was a grand total, $1 million. Victoria's anger erupted. She shredded the list in her hands. What was this supposed to mean? Was he trying to draw a clear line between them? All because she didn't choose him in a play he helped orchestrate. He was the one who had deceived her first. Victoria grabbed her phone and dialed Leo's number, only to be met with a cold, robotic voice. The number you have dialed does not exist. Her anger instantly vanished, replaced by a frantic anxiety that gripped her heart. She opened their message thread, her fingertips trembling uncontrollably. Leo, where are you? I bought cake in your favorite hot pot. Can we celebrate your birthday together? A glaring red exclamation mark appeared next to her message. Victoria's mind went blank. She immediately dialed another number, her voice a mixture of panic and fury. Find out where Leo Vance went, and find out everything he's done this past week. Hanging up, Victoria ran frantically through every room of the house, but found no trace of Leo, not even a single hair. She bolted into the backyard. A sea of vibrant, fiery red roses met her eyes, their rich fragrance filling the air. Victoria screamed in shock. What is this? Why are there roses? Where are the tulips we planted before? The gardener, who had been humming and watering the flowers, jumped in fright. 3 days ago, Sir asked us to pull out all the tulips and replace them with roses, he explained, confused. I thought it was a shame. Those tulips were growing so well. I asked him why, but he didn't answer. Later, though, I heard him mutter something to himself. Because she doesn't love tulips. She loves roses. The gardener didn't understand what it meant, but Victoria understood instantly. Leo was saying that she didn't love him anymore. She loved Adrian. Get out. All of you get out. The gardener quickly gathered his things and fled. Victoria charged into the rose bed like a madwoman, furiously ripping the bushes from the ground and throwing them aside. The sharp thorns tore at her skin, drawing blood, but she seemed to feel nothing. She didn't stop until every single rose bush had been uprooted, her hands dripping with blood. Defeated, she collapsed onto the bare earth, feeling as if all her strength had abandoned her. The memory of the proposal in a field of roses flooded her mind. Back then, Leo had taken a step toward her. He was about to accept her proposal. Why did she have to leave? How had things between them come to this? Victoria remembered the words she had said during the proposal. She wanted him by her side forever. When Leo first came into her life, she had never thought about the word forever. She was well aware that he was just a substitute. All she had wanted was to hear his voice, a voice identical to Adrian's. Hearing his voice had a strangely calming effect on her. When he told her not to drink, to take care of herself, to drink more water, it felt as if Adrian himself were caring for her. But gradually, she discovered that it wasn't just his voice. Leo's tastes, his style, his hobbies, they were all exactly the same as Adrian's. All of it made her fall for him even harder. Victoria's cold exterior began to melt. She started treating him with genuine affection, buying him gifts, planning little surprises, and worrying about him constantly. The smallest injury he sustained would cause her an inexplicable amount of pain. She had always told herself that she treated him this way only because he was, from top to bottom, a perfect imitation of Adrian. In the 7th year of Adrian's absence, her family elders began pressuring her to get married. Leo's face immediately came to mind. A smile unconsciously touched her lips as she thought to herself, spending a lifetime with Leo wouldn't be so bad. So, Victoria immediately planned a romantic proposal. When she saw the look of shocked panic on Leo's face, she had been nervous too, terrified he would refuse. When Leo smiled and took that step toward her, she had seen it, and she had never been happier. But she never expected Adrian to return on that very day. Her phone rang. It was her assistant's cautious voice on the other end. Ms. Davenport, we can't find any trace of Mr. Vance's movements. His flight information is protected. We can't access it. Useless. Find a way. She hurled the phone across the room. A soft, startled cry sounded from nearby. Leo was back. Victoria scrambled to her feet and ran into the living room, throwing her arms around a tall figure from behind. "Where did you go?" she murmured. "You're finally back. Please, don't ever leave me again, okay?" "Okay, Victoria. I'll never leave you again." Flowers bloomed anew in the barren wasteland of Victoria's heart. The joy of having him back made her forget everything else. Thank God she hadn't lost him. "Oh, Victoria, your hands are bleeding. Where's the first aid kit? Let me bandage them for you." "The first aid kit is—" The rest of the words caught in her throat. Victoria abruptly spun the person in her arms around. The light in her eyes faded, and her heart turned back into a desert. "Why is it you?" Adrian was stunned for a moment. Then his tone became tinged with anger. "You thought I was Leo? Victoria, what is that supposed to mean? Are you not happy to see me?" Victoria turned and sank onto the sofa, rubbing her temples wearily. "Adrian, that's not what I meant. I'm just a little tired. Can you please go home for now?" This was the first time Victoria had ever asked him to leave. In the past, she was the one he couldn't get rid of. Anger and insecurity churned inside Adrian. "If I leave, you'll regret it." His footsteps stopped at the doorway. He turned back and saw the bloodstains on the sofa. A dull ache spread through his chest. His gaze fell on the first aid kit on the bookshelf. Maybe Victoria was just used to having Leo around. After all, 7 years was a long time. You could get attached to a dog in that time, let alone a living, breathing person. They had only been together for 7 years, while Victoria had loved him for 20. When forced to choose, she had chosen him without hesitation. In their relationship, it had always been Victoria doing the pursuing, the expressing of love. Now, it was his turn to put in some effort. Otherwise, he would repeat the mistakes of his last failed relationship. With that thought, Adrian grabbed the first aid kit and sat down next to Victoria, gently disinfecting and bandaging her wounds with a look of concern. "Disappear completely. Who do you choose?" Fragmented phrases flashed through Victoria's mind. She snapped her eyes open, her fingers digging into Adrian's wrist. "Adrian, where did Leo go? Do you know something?" The pressure was so strong that Adrian winced in pain, a flash of anger in his eyes. "Victoria, you're hurting me." Her hand immediately loosened, but her choked voice repeated the question, desperate. "I am sorry, Adrian. Do you know where Leo is? Please tell me, okay?" Adrian's eyes widened in shock, his rationality crumbling. "You're begging me for Leo's sake? Victoria, does it matter where he is? You know in your heart that Leo is just a substitute. You don't love him, you love me. You've loved me since the day you were born. You said you would only ever love me. Have you forgotten? When you had to choose, you chose me without a moment's hesitation. I am the most important, the only person in your heart." His accusations hammered into her ears, throwing her mind into utter chaos. He wasn't wrong. For all these years, the person she had loved was Adrian. But why was her mind now filled with images of Leo? Adrian held the silent, downcast woman tightly, his voice trembling with emotion, impossibly gentle. "Victoria, why aren't you saying anything? Don't you love me anymore? Just say you love me right now, and we'll get married immediately. We'll be together forever and never be apart again, okay?" These were words Victoria had often heard in her dreams. Now, hearing them spoken aloud, she felt no joy at all. She didn't know what was wrong with her. This was the man she had loved for 20 years. Why didn't she feel the elation of her dreams coming true? "Victoria, if you don't say anything, I'll take that as a yes." The pleasant male voice sounded again. Victoria finally snapped back to reality, gently pushing him away. Her voice was thick with exhaustion. "Adrian, let's talk about this another day. I have some things to take care of at the office. I'm leaving." With that, Victoria grabbed her coat from the sofa and walked out the door. Watching her disappear, Adrian furiously swept all the medicine bottles off the table. "Why?" he roared in frustration and rage. He couldn't understand where things had gone wrong. Victoria had loved him for so many years, had chased after him relentlessly. Even during his years abroad, her gifts and affection never ceased. In every test he put her through, she had chosen him without fail. Why now, when he was finally willing, was she the one pulling away? He felt like he couldn't understand her anymore. Was it because of that substitute? How could Victoria have fallen in love with a substitute? That man, aside from having a voice like his, was inferior to him in every other way. Adrian picked up his phone and dialed an international number. "Mr. Vance, what the hell did you do to Victoria these past 7 years? The contract states in no uncertain terms that no emotional attachment is to be formed between you two. I trust you haven't forgotten that." There was a moment of silence on the other end before Leo's respectful, cool voice came through. "Mr. Thorne, for the past 7 years, I have only been you." The answer took Adrian by surprise, and a satisfied smile spread across his face. So, Victoria had fallen in love with another version of him. "Mr. Vance," Adrian commanded, his good mood evaporating. "I've run into a bit of a problem. I need your cooperation." "Of course. During the 1-month post-service period, I will do my best to cooperate with you in all matters, short of meeting in person." Getting the confirmation he needed, Adrian hung up. The weight in his chest lightened. As long as Victoria wasn't in love with Leo himself, but with another version of him, it meant the person she loved was still Adrian Thorne. Could the original really lose to a substitute? After hanging up, a fog of confusion settled in Leo's eyes. He didn't understand why Adrian was making him do this. To Victoria, he was just an expendable substitute. She had loved and longed for Adrian for 20 years. Now that he was gone, shouldn't they be living happily ever after? Though confused, Leo had to comply with his client's request during the post-service period. He typed in a familiar number, opened a new text message, and, following Adrian's instructions, his fingers flew across the screen. "Victoria, I never loved you. I only got close to you for your money. After 7 years by your side, I don't need money anymore, so you're useless to me now. Don't look for me. I wish you and Adrian happiness. I'll send a wedding gift to express my gratitude to my benefactor. Leo." Victoria sat dejectedly in her CEO's office, her gaze unintentionally falling on a photo frame on her desk. It was a picture from 10 years ago, when she and Adrian had both gotten into the same university. In the photo, Adrian was waving happily at the camera, while her eyes were fixed on the boy's handsome face. Her world had consisted of only Adrian. Just as her hand was about to touch the frame, another, entirely different face surfaced in her mind. Why was she thinking only of Leo now? Perhaps it was just because he had suddenly disappeared, and she wasn't used to it yet. Was that really it? Then why wasn't she accepting Adrian? Everyone said that she, Victoria Davenport, was a hopeless romantic, that from elementary school through college and into her CEO years, there had only ever been one person in her heart. For the 7 years Adrian was abroad, there hadn't been another man in her life. But they didn't know that for those 7 years, there had always been a Leo standing behind her. Ping. The notification sound from her phone broke the silence. Victoria glanced at the screen. Her pupils contracted, and her hand trembled as she picked up the phone. A short text message burned into her vision, the name Leo at the end stabbing her in the heart. She immediately tried to call the number, murmuring, "Leo, where are you? Please pick up. Don't go, okay?" The line was met with the same emotionless, robotic voice. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." Victoria's gaze dimmed again. She read the text over and over, a self-deprecating smile cracking her lips. They had been together for 7 years, day in and day out. Why was his goodbye so perfunctory? Victoria simply didn't believe that Leo was after her money. In all these years, he had never accepted her credit cards, never spent a dime of her money, and never asked her for anything. Even the gifts she gave him were only accepted after she put on a stern face. And before he left, he had returned the cash equivalent of everything she'd ever given him. He had settled the accounts clearly and precisely. But could the 7 years of their relationship truly be calculated so easily? An image of her first meeting with Leo flashed in Victoria's mind. She had asked him what he wanted, and he had said he just wanted to stay by her side. A dull ache throbbed in her temples. Victoria truly couldn't understand why Leo would suddenly leave her. Was it because of Adrian's return? Or the unfinished proposal? Or the engagement ring engraved with another man's name? Or was it on the cliff when she had chosen Adrian? Waves of pain shot through Victoria's heart. It was only now that she realized that ever since Adrian had returned, she had been mindlessly chasing after him, unintentionally doing so many things to hurt Leo. In a private room of a late-night bar, Victoria leaned weakly against the wall, surrounded by empty glass bottles. When Adrian pushed open the door, he found her dead drunk, still trying to pour another bottle of liquor down her throat. He quickly strode over and snatched the bottle from her. "Stop drinking. Victoria, stop drinking." The drunken woman paused, letting him take the bottle. She threw her arms around him, her voice hoarse and trembling with intoxication. "Leo, you're back. I knew you wouldn't. Leave me. Leo, don't go. Don't ever leave me again. Okay." A single tear escaped from Victoria's eye, landing on the back of Adrian's hand. Adrian's eyes filled with a venomous shock, a jealousy so fierce it nearly consumed him. They say the truth comes out when you're drunk. Why, then, was she calling out that substitute's name? He didn't believe it. He wouldn't accept it. He wouldn't allow Victoria to have feelings for a stand-in. Adrian knelt in front of the drunken woman, gently cupping her face in his hands. His voice was incredibly soft. Victoria looked closely. Who am I? Victoria slowly opened her eyes. The blurry image in front of her gradually came into focus. Suddenly, she shoved the man before her to the ground with all her might. You're not Leo. Where's Leo? I want Leo. Adrian's heart jolted. He had never imagined that Victoria would push him to the ground for another man. All his pride and confidence shattered in an instant, replaced by a massive wave of fear, insecurity, and resentment that swept over him, threatening to drown him. Losing all control, Adrian grabbed a glass of water from the table and threw it in her face. Victoria, snap out of it. Tell me, who do you want? The cold water washed away some of the drunkenness, and clarity returned to Victoria's cloudy eyes. She pressed a hand to her throbbing temple and said nothing. Adrian tossed the glass aside, the clattering sound unnaturally loud in the quiet room. He stood up, looking down at her, his voice tight with anger and anxiety. Victoria, say something. Who do you love? Why have you become like this? He's just a substitute. Just a crude, despicable, lying, worthless substitute. Do you love him? The only person you love is me. I'm the one you've held in your heart. The one you've loved for 20 years. We were so close to finally being together, and now you've fallen for someone else? Victoria, where is your heart? You said you would only love me for the rest of your life. Victoria looked up, meeting his furious gaze. This was the first time she had ever seen Adrian so out of control, so angry. For all these years, he had always maintained a single facade in front of her, gentle, handsome, and aloof, always giving off a feeling of being both near and far. Just when she thought he was unattainable, he would show her concern. Just when she thought he was within reach, he would disappear abroad without a word. And he was gone for 7 years. In this relationship, she had always been the one in the subordinate position, just like now, always looking up, begging for his love. After a long silence, Victoria's hoarse voice broke the stillness. 7 years ago, why did you suddenly go abroad? Adrian faltered, clearly not expecting this question. In the past, no matter what he did, Victoria never asked why. He was at a loss for how to answer. Answer me. The woman's hoarse voice repeated, a new iciness in her tone. Already on the verge of a breakdown, Adrian was completely set off by her cold demeanor. Victoria, what is with your tone? Does it matter why? What matters is that I love you now, and I want to be with you. So what if I went abroad back then to test you? You've loved me for so many years. What's waiting 7 more years for me? It was only 7 years, and I never thought you'd have another man by your side. You said you'd wait for me for a lifetime, that you'd only ever have me. Have you forgotten all that? Victoria's face was devoid of expression, her eyes hazed over from the alcohol. After a long moment, a self-mocking smile touched her lips. To think that the departure that had torn her apart back then was just another one of Adrian's casual tests. She loved him so much. She would have given up anything for him, money, her future, even the entire Davenport Corporation. Wasn't that enough? Why did he have to test her loyalty with 7 years of silence? Suddenly, all her longing for Adrian over those 7 years seemed utterly ridiculous. Her mind was once again filled with the image of Leo. Thank God for Leo these past 7 years. Otherwise, she didn't know how she would have survived. Victoria picked up a nearby bottle and drained it, her eyes filled with a bleak emptiness. Adrian, you should go. The bottle fell from her hand, and she closed her eyes, seemingly passed out. Adrian looked at her in disbelief, his fists clenched tightly. He had already lost one woman he loved. He couldn't lose Victoria, who loved him to the bone. He carried the drunken woman to a hotel. Adrian took off his jacket and slowly moved closer to her feverish body. His well-defined fingers gently traced her lips, and just as he was about to lean in for a kiss, the drunken woman's hand suddenly reached up, her small hand roaming over his collarbone. Adrian's ears turned red. Victoria, give yourself to me. Just as his soft words fell, the woman's movements became more forceful. Adrian pressed his body tightly against hers. You're not him. You don't have a mole on your collarbone. You're not him. The semi-conscious woman suddenly shoved him away, her low mumbles echoing in the room. Adrian was stunned. He tried to get close to her again, speaking softly, but was repeatedly pushed away with force. Rage consumed him. He stormed out of the room and dialed a number on his phone. When the call connected, he demanded furiously, Leo, you slept with Victoria? The contract explicitly states. A cold voice on the other end cut him off. Mr. Thorne, I believe you've misunderstood something. I have never had sexual relations with a client. You are free to verify that. Then why does she know you have a red mole on your collarbone? Why did she push me away? The same respectful voice came through the phone. Have you forgotten, Mr. Thorne? You were the one who had me get that mole tattooed. You said it was your personal mark, so I had to have one too. You also told me to find ways to let the client see it often, so that it would remind her of you. Adrian was speechless, his eyes glazed over as he mumbled, "That's right. How could I have forgotten?" From the day he was born, he'd had a small, blood-red mole on his collarbone. When he was insecure about it, worried about what people would say, only Victoria had smiled and told him it was a mark left by an angel, the most beautiful thing in the world. But after he went abroad, at the disgusted glance of another woman, he had gone and had it surgically removed. How ironic. The mark that was originally his was now, in Victoria's mind, a feature of his substitute. "Mr. Thorne, if there's nothing else, I'll be hanging up." "Leo." A hoarse, screaming voice cut through the silence. Victoria burst out of the room, snatched the phone, and spoke in a choked, trembling voice. "Leo, tell me where you are. I'll come find you, please." And cold, emotionless voice on the other end interrupted her, but it wasn't speaking to her. "Mr. Thorne, as you have violated the terms of the agreement, the 1-month post-service period is hereby terminated. Thank you for your business. Goodbye." Hanging up the phone, Leo let out a quiet sigh of relief. A heavy weight had finally been lifted. According to the agreement, both the stand-in and the employer had to ensure the nature of their arrangement was never discovered by the client. If it was, the other party had the right to terminate the service. He pulled out the SIM card and threw it in the trash. He was finally completely done with being a stand-in. Done with the past, done with Victoria, and done with Adrian. From now on, he would never be anyone's substitute again. He would just be himself. Staring at the disconnected call, Victoria's hands trembled as she dialed the number again, only to be met with the same cold, robotic female voice over and over. "Adrian, what is all this? What is the relationship between you and Leo?" A jolt went through Adrian. This was the first time Victoria had ever yelled at him. He hadn't realized she was sober enough to wake up and discover the truth about the stand-in. He lowered his head and put a comforting arm around her shoulder. "Victoria, you must have misheard. That wasn't Leo's voice. I just ordered a cake." Victoria's eyes were bloodshot as she shoved him away, her gaze filled with a murderous rage. "I'm asking you one last time. What is the deal between you and Leo? What is your relationship? Adrian, while I can still speak to you civilly, I suggest you answer me. Otherwise, I have 100 ways to make your family beg me to tell them." Adrian's eyes widened in shock. Victoria was threatening him with his family. Was this the same woman who had once defended him so fiercely? The last vestiges of guilt and shame in Adrian's heart evaporated, replaced by a mixture of resentment and anger. He pushed her away, his deep voice filled with rage. "So what if I tell you? I'll tell you right now. Leo was just a substitute I hired. He got close to you for money. The reason he didn't take your money is because I already paid him. He doesn't love you. Everything you've seen about him these past few years, his style, his tastes, it was all fake. It was all copied from me. Leo is a complete fraud. Do you understand? Victoria, the reason you let him stay by your side in the first place, the reason you kept him around for so long, wasn't it because his voice, his everything, was so much like mine? Can you deny that you didn't see him as a substitute?" Adrian pulled her into a tight embrace, looking up into her downcast eyes. "Victoria, let's not talk about him anymore, okay? He's just a substitute. How can he affect our 20 years of history? I'll never leave you again, I promise." His words were like a series of veils being ripped away, exposing one cruel truth after another. She had been played by two men. A flood of memories washed over Victoria. No wonder he always forced himself to eat spicy food, even with a pained expression. No wonder his eyes showed no joy when she gave him sneakers. No wonder he was unwilling to meet her friends. It was all because Leo was just a substitute, a stand-in hire by Adrian. So what did these past 7 years mean to Leo? Was it just a job? The late-night embraces, the kisses under romantic candlelight, the step he took toward her during the proposal. Was that all just part of his job? Were the feelings between them for the past 7 years all a lie? A sense of powerlessness washed over Victoria. She pushed Adrian away, her voice cold and laced with fury. "Why did you do this?" Her icy demeanor provoked Adrian further. He cried out in a tragic voice, "Victoria, I did it for us, for our relationship. I was afraid. I was afraid you would forget me. I was worried about you. I worried that after I left, you wouldn't eat or sleep properly. So I found someone to take my place and look after you. Victoria, I love you." Victoria looked at the handsome face she knew so well and suddenly felt like she was looking at a complete stranger. It felt as if she had never truly seen through Adrian. In her heart, he had always been pure and dazzling, but the things he had done were utterly laughable. If he truly loved her, Why would he have left 7 years ago without a word, without a trace? She had spent 20 years trying to melt his icy heart, and now that it had finally thawed, she was exhausted. Kidnapping, substitutes, staged dramas, all of it left her feeling weary and heartbroken. She had never imagined that her raw, sincere heart would be tested over and over again with such cliché, ridiculous methods. Victoria finally saw her own heart clearly. The image of Leo smiling as he took that step toward her in the rose garden appeared in her mind. That step, was it genuine? She desperately wanted to ask him. The last spark of light died in Victoria's eyes. She turned and walked away like a zombie. Watching her lonely figure retreat, an inexplicable panic seized Adrian. He felt as if he was about to lose something important. He ran after her, hugging her tightly. "Don't go, Victoria, don't go." Victoria's cold fingers pried his hands away. "Adrian, let's not see each other again. The moment you left the country 7 years ago, it was over between us." Adrian stood frozen, shaking his head and muttering to himself, "Impossible. It was only 7 years. You said you'd wait for me for a lifetime." There was no one left to answer him. Victoria walked through the streets like a lost soul. After what felt like an eternity, the exhaustion and drunkenness finally overwhelmed her as she collapsed, losing consciousness. When she opened her eyes again, the smell of disinfectant filled her nostrils. The chatter of nurses outside her room drifted in. Isn't that the woman who fainted? The one the burn unit was talking about, the CEO who dotes on her husband. Yeah, that's her. Her boyfriend had a tiny burn the size of a fingernail, and she was acting like it was the end of the world, calling in specialists, ordering tests. Man, the guy who came in after them was so unlucky. He had such a large burn, and because of their delay, he's scarred for life. A scar that big is going to leave a mark mentally, too. Imagine how much that must have hurt. I know that guy. His name is Leo. He's a really nice person, always. The woman on the hospital bed shot up and ran to them, her eyes red, her voice hoarse. "What did you say happened to Leo?" The nurses were confused. Wasn't her boyfriend Mr. Thorne? But they told her what they knew and even showed her the burn report. The words "severe burn" on the report stabbed her heart again. Victoria's face turned deathly white. She hadn't even noticed that Leo had been so seriously injured. Before, she would have noticed even the smallest, most insignificant cut on him immediately. She doubled over, burying her face in her hands, her whole body trembling as a storm of emotions raged within her. Her phone rang. It was her assistant. "Ms. Davenport, we found the agency Mr. Vance was in contact with. It's in New York." Victoria immediately bought a ticket and boarded a flight to New York. The night in New York was particularly cold. In a nondescript agency in the suburbs, the director was about to lock up for the night. A hand stopped the door. A deep voice cut through the darkness. "I'm looking for Leo Vance." The director paused, looking at the beautiful, radiant face before him. He had a good idea of who she was. He invited her into his office. "Leo has resigned. I don't know where he is." Victoria's expression darkened. Why was he a stand-in? His mother was sick and needed a large sum of money for surgery. The fee offered by the employer was sufficient, and, as it happened, the employer was only interested in his voice. Although he didn't say it outright, Victoria knew the employer was Adrian. After a long silence, her hoarse voice sounded unnaturally clear in the quiet night. "Did Leo ever love me?" The director poured her a cup of tea before speaking slowly. "I don't know." The woman across from him shot to her feet, her dark eyes filled with rage. Just as she reached the door, the director's cryptic voice sounded from behind her. "A stand-in is not allowed to fall in love with a client. The penalty for breach of contract is $5 million. A month ago, Leo asked me if the penalty could be paid in installments. But a few days later, he told me the employer was back, and he had to leave. Ms. Davenport, I think you have your answer. Since the person you love has returned, why are you doing this now? I believe Leo is doing well. You don't need to look for him." Victoria's body trembled violently. A month ago, the day of her proposal. It was only now that she understood the immense determination, the preciousness of that single step Leo had taken toward her. Leo did love her. With that realization, Victoria turned back, her eyes filled with a stubborn resolve. "I love Leo. If you have any news of him, please tell me. I'll pay any price. I will not rest until I find him." With that, her lonely figure disappeared into the night. In a hospital room in the UK, the sound of crying could be heard, yet the doctor walked out with a smile. "Mom, you're finally awake." Leo gripped the wrinkled hands tightly, his voice choked with sobs. He had waited 7 years for this day. Ever since his mother had suddenly fallen ill and slipped into a coma 7 years ago, he had lived in a state of constant fear, terrified that she would leave him. She was his only family in the world. "Don't cry, my sweet boy. It breaks my heart." A tear slid from the corner of Mrs. Vance's eye. She had been thinking of her son for 7 years, too. Although she had been in a coma, her mind had been clear. She could hear every word Leo said. Every time he cried, she felt his pain. She had struggled countless times to open her eyes, to hold her son, but she couldn't. She could only listen helplessly. She had struggled countless times to open her eyes, to hold her son, but she couldn't. She could only listen helplessly. Finally, she could hold him tight, her trembling hand stroking his hair. "Don't cry anymore, Leo. Mom will protect you now." His phone rang. Leo answered, and an excited voice came through. "Leo, congratulations. You got the part. The director said you're cast," as the voice of the male lead. Then, a more hesitant tone. "But your mom. Should I go take care of her? You can focus on the voice work." Mrs. Vance spoke up, her warm voice tinged with a smile. "That voice. Is it the little girl who comes to visit me so often? Thank you for taking care of me, young lady." The assistant on the other end fell silent for a moment, then let out a joyful shriek. "Mrs. Vance, you're awake. That's wonderful, truly wonderful. Please take care of yourself and stay healthy. I'll let you two catch up now." Leo helped his mother sit up and began to tell her about the past 7 years, sharing everything, even trivial things like a new dish at a restaurant. He didn't know that she had heard every word he'd said over those years. During that time, she had often heard him mention a woman's name. She could sense her son's special feelings for her. But now, why was he not mentioning her at all? Mrs. Vance took Leo's hand and asked gently, "Leo, in all these years, has there been any girl you've liked?" A fleeting shadow of sadness crossed Leo's eyes, but his mother caught it. "No, I just want to be with you forever, Mom." Mrs. Vance smiled and said no more. At the Davenport family estate, the sound of the old man's angry shouts, mixed with the sharp crack of a cane, echoed within the closed study. "You ungrateful child. 7 years ago, you were ready to die for that Thorn boy, even neglecting the company for him. Now that he's back, you're wasting away, drinking yourself to death over another man who's beneath you. How did I end up with such a useless granddaughter? If you weren't the only heir to the Davenport Corporation, I'd beat you to death myself." Victoria braced herself on the floor, silently enduring the heavy blows. Weakened from days of not eating or sleeping properly, she finally couldn't take it anymore and coughed up a mouthful of blood. The caning stopped immediately. "Mr. Davenport knelt and helped her up, calling her name anxiously, his old eyes filled with tears as he coughed repeatedly. "Victoria, are you trying to kill me? Your father died young, and I've been holding this company together all this time. But I'm afraid my body can't take much more. I raised you from a child. If you have any sense of duty left, you will protect this company, protect the legacy of your elders. If you don't care whether I live or die, then go on, keep drinking. I won't stop you. I'll just have to apologize to your father when I see him in the afterlife for failing to raise you properly." Guilt washed over Victoria's pale face. Her voice was incredibly hoarse. "Grandfather, I'm sorry. I won't do it again." A smile appeared on the old man's weathered face. He carefully pulled her into an embrace. "You used to like that Thorn boy, didn't you? I've discussed it with old man Thorn. A marriage between our families would be a good choice. Starting tomorrow, Adrian will report to Davenport Corp. He just got back to the country, so you can show him the ropes and get to know each other better. Settle the engagement soon." Victoria's hand instinctively went to the belt she was wearing. It was a gift from Leo. She was about to refuse, but her grandfather had already closed his eyes, clearly unwilling to hear any more. She replied softly, "Okay," but her tired eyes were filled with a deep-seated reluctance. When Victoria returned to her CEO's office, the stack of files waiting for her approval had grown into a small mountain. The sound of leather shoes approached, followed by a magnetic male voice. "Victoria, I look forward to working with you. I made you breakfast. You always loved bagels." Adrian held out a heart-shaped container. The smell of fresh meat and baked dough filled the office. Victoria pushed the container away and continued to review the files, not looking up. "Mr. Thorn," she said coolly, "during work hours, please refrain from non-work-related activities. Also, please knock before entering my office in the future." Adrian grabbed her hands tightly, his voice soft and pleading. "Victoria, we're getting engaged soon. Can't we put the past behind us and just be together? I made myself very clear last time. It was over between us 7 years ago. We have no relationship, not in the past and not in the future. I can allow you to work here, but an engagement is out of the question. Her cold, emotionless words sent a shiver down Adrian's spine. He turned and walked to the door, then paused. Victoria, I won't give up. It's not over between us. I don't believe you've really stopped loving me. In the days that followed, the employees of Davenport Corp. grew accustomed to seeing Adrian trailing behind their CEO. Rumors that he was the future Mr. President spread like wildfire through the company's group chats. But what they didn't notice was that Victoria never once looked back at him. Time flowed by like water. In 3 years, under Victoria's leadership, Davenport Corp. became a top-tier enterprise. Victoria herself earned a reputation as a ruthless workaholic, feared by competitors and employees alike. As for Adrian, the man everyone thought would be the CEO's husband, he was gradually pushed out of the core business over the years. No one talked about that gossip anymore. The employees said Victoria was born a machine, that she never needed rest, that her life was nothing but work. Only her assistant knew that wasn't how Victoria used to be. Ms. Davenport, still no news of Mr. Vance. The agency hasn't heard anything either. The assistant had repeated these words countless times over the past 3 years. Victoria's reaction had evolved from furious outbursts to a calm resignation. Keep looking. Of course, Ms. Davenport. The premiere for the film Davenport Corp. Invested in is this afternoon. The producers have invited you to attend. The moment the theater went dark, Victoria's mind drifted back to the first movie she had seen with Leo. After the movie, he had excitedly pulled her aside to discuss it, even pouting and complaining about the actor's voiceover, boasting that he could have done better. A faint smile touched her lips, followed by a flicker of sadness in her eyes. At the time, she hadn't said a word to him. So what if the world doesn't approve? I will get justice for my mother. For the sake of the royal family's honor, you can disregard justice? The powerful, resonant lines echoed through the theater. Victoria's head shot up. The face on the giant screen wasn't the one in her mind, but the voice. She could never mistake that voice. It was the voice that had appeared in her dreams every night for the past 3 years. Who is the voice actor for this character? The director immediately replied with enthusiasm, his words full of praise. This voice actor is new, but he's incredibly talented and... Victoria cut him off impatiently. What's his name? His name is Leo Vance. Hearing that name spoken by someone else after 3 years, Victoria's heart could no longer remain calm. After getting the location of Leo's studio from the director, she immediately booked a flight to the UK. On the plane, Victoria pored over the information she could find on Leo from the past 3 years, trying to fill the void of her absence from his life. So, he had been in the UK all this time, using a stage name for his voice work. No wonder she could never find him. Leo's voiceover studio had a staff of 20, all men. Due to their outstanding abilities and distinct individual styles, his studio had made a name for itself in the industry. Countless collaboration requests poured in, but many were politely declined for not being the right fit. During the 3 hours she waited in the reception area, Victoria was restless, mentally rehearsing her greeting 100 times, trying to figure out how to win him back. Creak. The door opened, and a man in a sharp business suit walked in. Victoria looked up and met a pair of clear, bright eyes. The sight stabbed her with a sharp pain. In the 3 years since she had last seen him, he had completely changed. He seemed to radiate a dazzling light, confident and bright, a far cry from the cautious man he used to be. Seeing who it was, the smile on Leo's face faltered. A flicker of surprise crossed his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a polite, professional smile. Ms. Davenport, long time no see. I hear you have an important collaboration to discuss with me. My next recording session starts in half an hour, so I'm a bit pressed for time. I hope you understand. His respectful yet distant tone sent waves of pain through Victoria's heart. Her voice was low and suppressed. Leo, do we have to be so formal with each other? When did we become so distant? Leo sat down and began to flip through the documents on the table without answering. Victoria looked down at him, unable to hold back the torrent of emotions that had been building for 3 years. Leo, I've been searching for you every single day for the past 3 years. Do you have any idea how much I've missed you? My life has no meaning without you. Leo, please come back with me. I can give you anything you want. We can go back to how things were, okay? The room was deathly silent, broken only by the soft rustle of paper. Only after he had finished reading the last page did Leo look up at her, his expression still strictly business. I've reviewed Davenport Corporation's proposal. I'm sorry, but we can't accept this collaboration. Your company's product marketing doesn't align with our studio style. I have to get to work now. Please make yourself at home, Ms. Davenport. His cold attitude was as if they were complete strangers, as if he truly saw her as nothing more than a potential business partner. Memories of their past flooded her mind, and Victoria's heart churned with a mixture of emotions. Her voice became urgent, laced with a hint of anger. Leo, don't you have anything to say for yourself? For getting close to me as a substitute, you just left without a word. That's not fair to me. Leo's face remained placid, his eyes as calm as still water. Ms. Davenport, my departure was your choice. Have you forgotten? You were the one who proposed, but you were also the one who said you never thought of marrying me. Was that fair to me? It was as if a mask had been ripped from Victoria's face, exposing her raw, vulnerable heart. A hint of panic crept into her voice. That's not it, Leo. I was confused, but now I see my heart clearly. Leo, I love you. The only person I want to marry is you. Please come back with me. From now on, I'll never. A cool voice cut her off. A mist clouded Leo's brown eyes. Ms. Davenport, it's over between us. He didn't understand what this seemingly heartfelt confession meant. Why, after 3 years apart, had Victoria's attitude toward him changed so drastically? He also didn't understand why she had come after him. His departure should have been insignificant to her, and the long years of their past had already faded from his memory. Leo's eyes were fixed on the future, not the past. Reaching the door, Leo didn't look back. His voice was distant and cold. Ms. Davenport, you made your choice 3 years ago. You waited for Mr. Thorne for so many years, and you finally got your wish. I'm happy for you. I wish you both happiness. Watching his retreating figure, Victoria wanted to run after him, but was stopped by security. She collapsed onto the sofa, a wave of helplessness and anxiety washing over her. 3 years apart, and Leo was like a completely different person. Before, he had always spoken to her with a gentle caution. Now, his face held nothing but a cold smile. It was as if they had never known each other. She refused to believe that Leo had truly moved on. They had spent 7 years together, day and night. How could he forget so easily? Even if she had made the wrong choice 3 years ago, couldn't she be given another chance? She wouldn't make the same mistake again. She had finally seen her own heart clearly. From now on, she would run toward Leo without hesitation. That's a wrap. Leo, you were amazing. Those last few lines gave me goosebumps. The assistant's praise died in her throat when she saw Victoria. She gave Leo a meaningful look and slipped away. Victoria held out a beautiful strawberry cake, her tired face filled with a gentle warmth. Leo, you must be exhausted. You've been working so hard. Are you hungry? I bought you your favorite strawberry cake. Later, we can go for your favorite seafood dinner, okay? A slight frown creased Leo's brow. He hadn't expected her to still be here. Ms. Davenport, strawberries and seafood are Mr. Thorne's favorites. You've brought them to the wrong person. I thought I made myself clear earlier. Since we won't be collaborating, there's no need for you to seek me out again. With that, Leo brushed past her. The faint scent of jasmine drifted into Victoria's nostrils. It was fresh and pleasant, but completely unfamiliar, unlike the rich, bold scent of gardenia he used to wear. The strawberry cake slipped from her hands and fell to the floor. Victoria's eyes were clouded with confusion. She suddenly realized she didn't know Leo at all. The person she had known before was just another version of Adrian, a Leo wearing a mask. She felt like she was lost in a desert, with no sense of direction. But so what? She had already decided who she loved. It didn't matter what he was like before, or what he was like now. Leo was Leo. She was willing to get to know him all over again, to fall deeply in love with the real him once more. Having made up her mind, Victoria ran after his retreating figure. She followed Leo from a distance, watching him enter a private hospital room. Through the glass window on the door, she saw a smiling woman in the bed, her features bearing a striking resemblance to Leo's. Mrs. Vance took the bowl of soup from Chloe Meng, smiling. Chloe, you're here every day. You're going to spoil me. You're a good child, but you don't have to come here all the time. The nurse takes good care of me. Chloe noticed Leo's chapped lips and poured him a glass of water, though her tone was teasing. It's no trouble, Mrs. Vance. I've got nothing but time. Unlike a certain busybody here, our famous Mr. Vance's schedule is packed so tight, he doesn't even have time to have a meal with me. Leo drank the water and set the glass down, gently patting her head. Stop being so dramatic. I owe you one dinner, and you're already tattling to my mom. How old are you? So childish. Watching them bicker, a gratified smile spread across Mrs. Vance's face, her kind eyes filled with peace. She knew how Chloe felt. She had seen everything Chloe had done for him. On paper, she was the investor and owner of Leo's studio, but in reality, they were inseparable friends. Wherever they were, Chloe's eyes were always on Leo. Over the past 3 years, Leo's voice acting career hadn't been a smooth ride, but Chloe had been there behind the scenes, clearing every obstacle for him, using her hidden family connections and enduring cocktail parties she despised. But in front of Leo, she always maintained a cheerful, optimistic facade. She had stayed by his side, helping him rebuild his confidence, and slowly, Leo's smiles had become more frequent. She was even more attentive to Mrs. Vance, personally planning all her meals and visiting even more often than Leo himself. Chloe never said a word about any of this, but Mrs. Vance knew. She knew her son better than anyone, and she knew that for him to love again would take time and a great deal of courage. Mrs. Vance sighed, taking Chloe's hand with a look of compassion. You've been through a lot. Why don't you two go out for that dinner tonight? Leo, you can thank Chloe properly on my behalf. Of course, Annie. I'll go get you medicine. Hearing Leo's agreement, Chloe's happiness was written all over her face. She hummed a little tune as she left the room. Outside, Victoria sat flustered on a chair, terrified of being discovered. But her eyes couldn't help but follow the woman who walked past. Her profile looked vaguely familiar, and a flicker of jealousy darkened her eyes. This was the first time she had ever seen Leo smile at another woman like that. After the room was empty except for Mrs. Vance, Victoria knocked and entered with a bouquet of lilies. Hello, Mom. I'm a friend of Leo's, Victoria Davenport. A flash of surprise crossed Mrs. Vance's eyes. I know who you are. Victoria's dark eyes widened slightly, a mix of surprise and apprehension. You know me? Mrs. Vance accepted the flowers and gently gestured for her to sit, studying her for a few moments before speaking warmly. I was in a coma for 7 years. During that time, Leo would often video call the room and talk to me. And I heard your name many times. I thought to myself, my son must be in love with this girl, Victoria. And I realized he truly was, because his tone became more and more gentle and happy whenever he mentioned you. Until one night, 3 years ago, it was the first time he cried. He said he didn't want to be a substitute anymore. And that was the last time I ever heard him mention your name. Victoria's heart clenched with a sudden panic and fear. What? What did he say? The smile on Mrs. Vance's face faded slightly, but her voice remained gentle. He said, Goodbye, Victoria. I hope we never meet again in this lifetime. Leo has always been an emotional child. That was the first time I had ever heard him speak with such finality. Ma'am, I don't know what happened between you two, but I sincerely hope that you will stop looking for him, okay? It took Leo 3 years to finally start moving on from the past. If you truly love him, let him go, child. It's impossible between you two now. I know my son. He won't go back. And besides, he has someone who truly loves him by his side now. Her words were like a series of sharp knives, plunging mercilessly into Victoria's heart, the pain so intense she could barely breathe. Victoria's eyes reddened, her low voice thick with a desperate unwillingness to accept it. But ma'am, I can't. There hasn't been a single day in these 3 years that I haven't thought of Leo. Why can't he just give me one more chance? A subtle chill entered Mrs. Vance's gentle tone. Have you ever seen the scars on his arm? Even if you were given a second chance, 1,000 chances, those ugly, terrifying scars on his arm will never go away. Once the damage is done, it can't be erased. Do you understand? An endless silence fell over the room. Victoria's throat felt as if it were coated in wax. Unable to form a single word, the only sound the frantic thudding of her own heart. Adrian, following a location from the private investigator, arrived at the hospital but couldn't find Victoria. Just as he was about to enter the main building to search, a familiar figure out of the corner of his eye caught his attention. All his questions were answered in that instant. A jealous rage ignited within him. Adrian stormed over to the riverbank. Lau, I knew it was you. He looked Leo up and down with contempt. 3 years, and you've lost that pathetic look you used to have. But you think that's enough to seduce Victoria? Let me tell you, Leo, you will always be an expendable substitute. The only person who belongs by Victoria's side is me. In her heart, you are nothing but my shadow. If you know what's good for you, stay away from her. Leo just smiled. After 3 years, Adrian was still as arrogant and self-assured as ever. But that was how the loved one should be. It was the unloved who were cautious and insecure. Mr. Thorne, long time no see. You're overthinking things. Ms. Davenport and I are no longer in contact. I wish you both happiness. His polite explanation only fanned the flames of Adrian's anger. So you've learned to be a hypocrite now, Leo? Adrian spat, his voice laced with the bitterness of the past 3 years. Oh, that's right, I forgot. You were always good at acting when you were my stand-in. If you're really not in contact, then why did Victoria suddenly come to this hospital? And why has she been searching for you for the past 3 years? Why is it your name she calls out when she's drunk? If you hadn't seduced her during those 7 years, why would she be so obsessed with you now? Leo had no desire to get entangled with him. He turned to leave, speaking calmly. For those 7 years, everything I did was according to your instructions, Mr. Thorne. Out of the corner of his eye, Adrian saw Victoria hurrying toward them. An idea sparked in his mind. If he couldn't be sure of Victoria's feelings now, he would use the same method he had 3 years ago. Only this time, it wasn't a test. Adrian was certain Victoria would choose him. She loved him. But through this, he would make her see her own heart clearly. She didn't really love Leo. She was just used to having him around. That wasn't love. Splash. The calm surface of the river erupted as 2 figures fell in. On the bank, 2 women broke into a run. Leo. Victoria dove into the river without a moment's hesitation, swimming frantically toward Leo and calling his name. Just as her hand was about to reach the struggling man, another pair of nimble hands wrapped around Leo, pulling him toward the shore. Victoria's hand closed on empty water. She reluctantly followed them back to the bank. Help! Victoria! Victoria! Save me! Adrian's desperate cries came from the water, as if he were about to be swallowed by the river at any moment. But Victoria seemed deaf to his pleas, her entire focus on Leo. Now! Chloe pressed on his chest, performing emergency rescue. Seeing no response, she took a deep breath and was about to give him mouth-to-mouth when Victoria shoved her away. Chloe, what are you doing? Slap! You idiot! I'm saving his life. Chloe, having reached her limit, slapped Victoria across the face and continued administering rescue breaths to the unconscious man. His pale face came into Victoria's view. She clearly remembered that Leo knew how to swim. Why would he be drowning in a river that wasn't even that deep? Cough, cough. Leo coughed twice, but his face remained deathly pale, his eyes tightly shut as if in the grip of a nightmare. Don't push me. The cliff. Don't. His mumbled words reached Victoria's ears clearly. So it was because of that staged kidnapping on the cliff. It had given him a psychological trauma related to water. Another sharp pain shot through Victoria's heart, leaving her too weak to get any closer to him. Seeing that Leo was responsive, Chloe quickly called for help from a bystander to carry him to the clinic. Cough, cough. Adrian, pulled from the water by security, was on the verge of collapse, slumping weakly to the ground. The sharp pain in his heart was even more potent than the dizziness from nearly drowning. Why had Victoria's choice changed after 3 years? Adrian pushed himself up, his eyes red with disbelief. Victoria, why didn't you save me first? Leo pushed me in. I'm the victim. How can you only care about him? Victoria stood up without looking at him. For 3 years, she had pushed Adrian away time and time again, but he had relentlessly pursued her. The thought that he had followed her to the hospital and hurt Leo again filled her with an icy rage. If you ever dare to hurt Leo again, I will not be so lenient. Adrian's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't understand why she didn't see him. He had been in the water too. He was also a victim. He used all his remaining strength to lunge forward and hug her tightly, his voice choked with sobs. Victoria, I don't believe it. How could you not love me anymore? You said you would only love me for the rest of your life. Have you forgotten? Victoria, Adrian, what are you two doing? Victoria, if you dare hurt Adrian, I'll never forgive you. A sudden female voice interrupted Adrian's pleas. Rachel Price took off her coat and draped it over Adrian's shoulders, carefully helping him up. Adrian froze, looking at the woman before him in disbelief. Rachel, what are you doing here? Didn't you just get married? Where is he? The wedding was called off a long time ago. The Price family and me. We're not good enough for them anymore. The woman's low, defeated voice sent a pang through Adrian's heart. The woman he had pursued for so many years was holding him gently, and for a moment, he was lost. He had never been able to accept his defeat back then. And now, Victoria was cold and distant, impossible to win over. He turned and embraced Rachel, his voice unusually gentle. Rachel, I believe in you. Don't worry, I'll always be by your side to support you. Adrian, thank you. You're still the only one who's good to me. The scene of their loving embrace played out right in front of Victoria. Her mind suddenly connected a series of dots. So, the person Adrian had loved all along was her middle school deskmate, Rachel Price. Everything that hadn't made sense before suddenly had a logical explanation. Looking back, wherever Rachel was, Adrian was sure to be there too, and she had been completely oblivious, foolishly savoring every conversation with him, her heart fluttering like a fool. So, Adrian had only come back because Rachel got engaged. He had no other options, so he remembered the backup who had been chasing him all along. A self-mocking smile touched Victoria's lips. From beginning to end, she had just been an expendable replacement. And for a person like that, she had hurt the one who truly loved her. How ridiculous. Rachel, Adrian, I wish you both happiness. Victoria walked past them, leaving only a lonely silhouette behind. For a fleeting moment, Adrian felt the urge to run after her. He shook his head, dismissing the impulse, and held the woman in his arms tighter. The woman he loved had always been Rachel. Her current predicament was his opportunity, and he would cherish it. In the hospital room, Leo's broken, mumbled words echoed as he tossed and turned, his forehead beaded with sweat. Chloe wiped his brow with a pained expression, gripping his hand tightly. Her voice was filled with heartache. Leo, please wake up. I miss you so much. Chloe will only ever have one choice, and that's you, Leo. Please wake up. Is it because I'm not in your nightmares? I'm here now. You'll never have nightmares again. Her gentle, firm voice filled the room all night, and the man on the bed's breathing gradually stabilized. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, falling on the bed. Chloe, who had been dozing by his side, opened her eyes to find Leo awake, his clear eyes studying her. Leo, you're finally awake. Leo let her hold his hand, a smile gracing his pale face. This scene, viewed through the glass window of the room, was etched into Victoria's memory. She had kept vigil outside the room all night, dark circles under her eyes, her tired face a canvas of complex emotions. Her clenched fists slowly relaxed. It seemed she no longer had the right to be angry. In this choose one scenario, she had chosen Leo without hesitation. But he no longer needed her. The door opened, and Chloe walked out, sitting down next to her. So you're the shadow in Leo's heart, Victoria. The first time I saw him was in the recording studio. He had to do over 100 takes and still couldn't get it right. The director said his voice always lacked a certain confidence. He was supposed to be voicing the beloved male lead, not the unloved substitute. Later, I finally convinced him to see a therapist. The doctor said the emotional trauma he suffered had caused a severe psychological block. If he couldn't get over it, he might develop depression. Chloe's face grew darker, the anger in her voice barely contained. Victoria, the whole of New York knows you, the great Miss Davenport, are a hopeless romantic, that you've been in love with your one that got away. Complex emotions. Her clenched fists slowly relaxed. It seemed she no longer had the right to be angry. In this choose one scenario, she had chosen Leo without hesitation. But he no longer needed her. The door opened, and Chloe walked out, sitting down next to her. So you're the shadow in Leo's heart, Victoria. The first time I saw him was in a recording studio. He had to do over 100 takes and still couldn't get it right. The director said his voice always lacked a certain confidence. He was supposed to be voicing the beloved male lead, not the unloved substitute. Later, I finally convinced him to see a therapist. The doctor said the emotional trauma he suffered had caused a severe psychological block. If he couldn't get over it, he might develop depression. Chloe's face grew darker, the anger in her voice barely contained. Victoria, the whole of New York knows you, the great Miss Davenport, are a hopeless romantic, that you've been in love with your one that got away, Adrian Thorne, for over 20 years. Since you've gotten your wish, why are you still bothering Leo? Let him go. The pain you've caused him is enough to last a lifetime. Isn't that enough? Are you trying to drive him to his death? The Davenport and Meng families were business rivals, so Victoria and Chloe had been rivals since childhood, competing from elementary school all the way through college. Chloe had personally witnessed how much Victoria loved Adrian. She couldn't understand why Victoria was now clinging to Leo. Victoria looked down, her face unreadable, her heart a desolate wasteland. Leo wants to see you. Leo poured a cup of tea and handed it to her. As Victoria took it, her gaze unintentionally fell on his strong arm. A patch of red, terrifyingly ugly scars was starkly visible. Her heart seized with a violent, sharp pain, and the color drained from her lips. Leo, I'm so sorry. Does it? Does it hurt? The teacup nearly slipped from her trembling hands, her low voice shaking. Hearing this belated concern and apology, Leo's heart remained perfectly calm. He pulled down his sleeve and spoke softly. It doesn't hurt. It's all in the past. Seeing the bleakness in her listless eyes, Leo repeated himself, his clear voice steady and firm. Victoria, it's all in the past. Everything came to an end that night on the cliff. The ending can't be changed. No matter what you do, you can't change our past or our future. If we're fated to meet again, I hope we can be business partners instead of strangers. Can we do that? The room was filled only with the sound of birds chirping and and cicadas humming. Victoria looked at the man before her. He was so close, yet an insurmountable chasm now lay between them, filled with wounds and cracks that could never be repaired. After a long time, her gaze shifted from his profile to the fresh green buds on the trees outside the window. I understand, Leo. I wish you happiness. You too. Just as the words left her mouth, Chloe burst into the room with a thermos, unceremoniously ushering the woman still standing by the window out. She couldn't wait another moment. Every second that the person who had hurt Leo stood near him was torture for Chloe. The therapist had repeatedly warned her not to let Leo get agitated again, and she was terrified of him being hurt once more. Chloe looked up with a smile and opened the thermos. Leo, time to eat. I made your favorite sweet and sour ribs. Leo keenly noticed the flicker of disappointment in her eyes and gave her a wink. What's wrong, my dear CEO? Why the long face? The woman looked down, her eyes filled with sadness. Why did I have to meet you so late? If only I could have. Chloe, the fact that we met at all is a wonderful thing. It's not too late. It's just right. A faint smile played on Leo's lips. The warm sunlight illuminated his face, and a gentle breeze rustled his collar. Everything seemed just right. Outside the room, the fog in Victoria's eyes gradually lifted, and a bitter smile touched her lips. Once, she was the only one who stood by his side. But times had changed. She no longer had him. Victoria left a bouquet of tulips at the door of the room, turned, and walked out of the hospital toward the airport. Back at the Davenport villa, she had the gardener replant the entire yard with tulips. Her room was restored to its former state, and the living room and bedrooms were once again filled with their old photos. But the figure from the past was nowhere to be seen. Davenport Corp. S marketing and design underwent a major transformation, moving away from traditional methods to create campaigns with deeper meaning and an emphasis on individual strength. The newly launched Wildflower jewelry line was a huge success. Its message, that everyone has the right to be themselves and blossom with a unique beauty, no matter their circumstances, resonating with the public. Ms. Davenport, Mr. Vance has agreed to do the voiceover for the new product's promotional video. Victoria looked out at the clear blue sky, and some of the clouds in her own heart began to dissipate. If she could no longer stand by his side, then she would protect him in another way. She would protect his confidence, his wishes, and his dreams, hoping only that the rest of his life would be smooth and happy. The New York airport was already mobbed by fans. Mr. Vance, when is the sequel to the story of Ocean coming out? Mr. Vance, your voice is incredible. Can I have your autograph? Chloe was taken aback by the crowd and moved closer to the man beside her. When a female fan's hand was about to touch Leo, she couldn't take it anymore and pressed herself tightly against him. Her cheeks flushed in unconscious red, and her voice held a strange new emotion. There are too many fans. This is safer. Leo burst out laughing, his voice light and teasing. Hey, CEO Ming, why is your face so red? Are you sick? Should I take you to the hospital? Chloe's expression immediately darkened, though her face only grew redder. When they arrived at the suburban villa, Mrs. Vance had already prepared a meal for them. You're finally back. It's so much more comfortable in our own country. This is our home. Looking at the table laden with delicious food, Leo's eyes widened in surprise. Mom, you just recovered. The doctor said you shouldn't overexert yourself. How did you make all this by yourself? Oh, after a few years of rest, you think your mom's a delicate flower? Have you forgotten I used to be able to manage an entire field by myself? A table full of food is nothing. Seeing the slightly annoyed look on her son's face, Mrs. Vance quickly shot a look at Chloe. Chloe took Leo's bag, sat him down, and said warmly, All right, Mom is healthy now. Let her cook. She's been bored out of her mind. Come on, try her cooking. Mrs. Vance took the opportunity to put some food on her plate. Eating the familiar, delicious food, a wave of warmth spread through Leo's heart, and his eyes misted over. His family's health was the greatest happiness he could ask for. Suddenly remembering something, Leo feigned anger. What did you just call my mom? I didn't agree to that. Chloe placed a peeled shrimp in his bowl, completely unfazed, and said confidently, It's only a matter of time. Right, Mom? Mrs. Vance laughed, seeing her son's pouting face, and quickly smoothed things over. The TV was replaying the Golden Voice Awards ceremony. The winner of the 20th annual Best Voice Actor is Leo Vance. Leo accepted the award in flowers, his eyes reflecting the countless light sticks in the audience, illuminating his face. Thank you to my fans and to my family and friends who have supported me along the way. I want to say to everyone, be confident. You are a unique flower in this world. Your existence cannot be replaced by anyone. A large chicken leg was placed in Leo's bowl. Here, this is a reward for the most amazing Mr. Vance. Leo's eyes filled with a smile. He picked up another chicken leg and put it in Chloe's bowl. Thank you for your support, CEO Meng. 5 years later, the Meng family held a full moon celebration for their eldest grandson at the Grand Imperial Hotel. Congratulations, CEO Meng and Mr. Vance. Your love is as strong as ever. It's truly enviable. Little Mr. Vance looks just like his mother. Leo took the baby from Chloe's arms, his eyes filled with love as he looked at her. This little guy is heavy. Don't tire yourself out. You go rest. I'll handle things here. Leo smiled and planted a kiss on her cheek. Thank you for your hard work, my dear wife. This scene of marital bliss was witnessed by Victoria from a distance, a faint smile on her face. Godmother, isn't it the big brother from the photo? Is he the reason you never got married? Don't ask questions you're not supposed to ask. Your homework is doubled today. The boy immediately put on a sad face and promised not to mention it again. He was truly grateful to Victoria. If it weren't for her, he would still be in a corner of the orphanage, being bullied. In his eyes, Victoria could do anything. She was the most amazing person in the world. Though strict, she was genuinely good to him. He was just so curious what kind of man could completely occupy his godmother's heart, making her think of him for over a decade, with no room for anyone else. The smell of cotton candy drew the little boy's attention. Mister, I want one cotton candy. Mister. Adrian wiped away a tear and turned around. Confirming that the boy was alone, he looked up and answered. He poured a lot of sugar and made a huge cotton candy. As he handed it over, he hesitated. Was that your mom just now? The boy took the cotton candy and grinned. Yep, she's my mom. But mister, my mom already has someone she loves. Adrian froze for a moment, then picked up a strawberry tonghulu and held it out, a gentle smile on his face. We're having a promotion today. This is for your mom. It's her favorite flavor. Watching the boy skip away, Adrian's heart felt like it was being torn apart. Countless memories flooded his mind, and the regret was almost enough to swallow him whole. If he could do it all over again, he truly wished that the person he had seen back then was Victoria, not his deskmate Rachel. Adrian had chased after Rachel for 20 years, even hurting Victoria repeatedly for her. And every time he thought he had finally won, it all slipped through his fingers. That day at the river, he had chosen Rachel again. But just as they were about to get married, the news came that Rachel had forged contracts bankrupting the Thorne family, and then disappeared. Overnight, Adrian went from a rich young master to a man burdened with heavy debt. His parents fell ill from the shock, and to pay for their medical bills, Adrian had to work 8 part-time jobs a day. The cold wind whipped against his thin clothes. Adrian shivered, looking at the happy family in the hotel not far away. A bitter smile touched his lips. Perhaps this was his retribution. Inside the hotel, Chloe rested her chin on her hands, watching the snow suddenly begin to fall outside. Honey, she said out of the blue, I want some cotton candy. Leo, who had just put the baby to sleep, reached out and stroked her head. Okay,